Kamala, right? How do you feel about her? Because I know you made a comment earlier saying that she don't claim her black side.
House Nick, just like Barack Obama, they do what they need to do to stay close to the white power structure. She made a career locking up black people. This is the same woman who went on international television, Art, let me remind you, about a year or two ago and said America is not a racist country. You want me to go vote for a so-called black woman who went on international television and told the world that America is not a racist country? She spit in the face of the family of Trayvon Martin. She spit in the face of the family of Breonna Taylor. She spit in the face of the family of Michael Brown, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Amir Locke, Dante. We can go on and on. Tamir Rice, all the Africans murdered by police, which are state-sanctioned executions. Let us be clear. The police are agents of the state. When the police kills a black person, that is a state-sponsored.
So this is the Art of Dialogue podcast, and he's interviewing Dr. Umar Johnson. And if it's one thing that Dr. Umar is going to do, he's going to let you know 10 times.
Execution. And in response to all this racism, the execution of George Floyd, this part-time black woman says America is not racist. And when I say part-time, Art, I'm not poking fun at her because she's being mixed race. I want to be clear. I'm poking fun at her because she can rarely be found speaking up for black people. My issue ain't her being mixed race. Nobody's responsible for how they come into this world. My issue with her is not identifying with her people. I remember another interview I saw with Kamala Harris, Art, and she said, somebody asked her, what are y'all going to do for black people? And she said, we can't pass laws just for black people. She said this, we can't do things just for black. Well, Kamala Harris, can I ask you a question, Madam Vice President? If the Democratic Party can't do anything just for black people, why did y'all pass a law only for Asians? Why did y'all pass a law only for Native Americans? Why did y'all pass a law only for transgenders? Why did y'all pass a law only for LGBTQs? Why did y'all pass a law only for immigrants? If you can't do anything just for black people, this is what she said. It came out of her mouth. If you can't do anything just for black people, how was it possible for you and President Biden to do all these other things for specific ethnic groups in this country from whose benefit no other group can take anything from? Complete contradiction. Kamala Harris is not for black people. But you know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you why they went that way. Or if they stay that way, they could flip her out. But let's say for the sake of conversation, because Joe Biden did pass her his nomination, even though it's not his decision. She has his support, but the party got to choose her in Chicago. But let's say Kamala Harris gets the Democratic Party nomination in Chicago the week of my birthday, August 19th, I believe
He had to throw that in there.
DNC begins, or the 17th. Anyhow, here's why they're going to go that way, Art. Why are the Democrats about to give us the first woman president in American history? I'm going to tell you why. In 2022, there were 10 million more women registered to vote than men in America. Now, I'm talking everybody, Art. Black, white, red, yellow, brown, gay, straight, everybody. There were 10 million more women registered to vote than men, even though there's only about 3 more million women than men in this country. Population-wise, there's not a great gender disparity. You only see that when you come to the black community for reasons of extermination, incarceration, miseducation, right? And sexual confusion, right? So outside of black America, the male-female gender balance is almost the same. I believe there's 168 million adult women in America. It is about 165 million adult men in America. So you only have a 3 million person discrepancy. Now, those 10 million votes, there's 10 million more women registered to vote than men are. Elections have been decided by votes less than 10 million. You've had elections decided by 1 million. You had elections decided by 2 million. You've had elections decided by 3 million.
I mean, if we're talking strategy here, if you're playing the game, which that is all politics is, that's definitely a good strategy based on the numbers that he's providing. Now, I don't know if these numbers are accurate. Let me first say that, but that is, if we're looking at this as a game, that's which politics is. That's definitely a good strategy. Is go after, um, you know, uh, a strong base like that you can win over. It's a good strategy. Can't knock it.
You've had elections decided by 700,000 votes. If there's 10 million more women registered to vote than men in America across all race, colors, and class, if we nominate Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party's president, can she bring us those women votes, those undecided women? Can Kamala Harris bring us all the poor black women, the working class black women, the upper class? Can she bring us the white middle class women? Can she bring us the poor white women? They are banking on the fact that there's 10 million more women than men registered. And if we stick Kamala Harris out there for us, can she bring us the greatest share of those 10 million female votes? Here's what it's going to come down to.
See, I'm kind of in the middle, right? I see the sentiment on social media. I see a lot of people saying they're not voting for her. But on the flip side, like most of the people or the women in my family are in sororities, and they're AKAs and all that stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're voting for her, and I think it's just because she's considered a sister. Like I think that's what they call each other, or soror. Maybe that's the right word. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm seeing some women saying they're not, and then the sorority sisters saying they are. So, we'll see if it actually works.
Do white women prefer? Do white women prefer a woman of color or a white man? That's what it's going to. Do white American women prefer to have a white man in the presidency or a woman of color? And you know what I think, Art? I'm not completely decided, but I would say to you, wasn't this question already answered for us when Donald Trump took on Hillary Clinton?
True.
Did not America's white women choose Trump over Clinton? When it came time for the Electoral College to cast them votes, they went with Trump. So if they chose Trump over Clinton, here's the question, Art. If American white women chose Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton the first time Trump ran against a Democratic female, why would they switch and choose Kamala Harris over Trump the second time? If they chose Trump over a very well experienced, very popular Hillary Clinton the first time, why would they switch and now choose a black woman, half black, half South Asian, half East Indian? Why would they choose a black woman over Trump when they didn't even choose Hillary Clinton over Trump? But I'm telling you this, brother. I'm going to the Democratic National Convention. I'm going to try to get there because that's going to be a circus. You ain't seen a Nick show in your life like what you're about to see, because they got to outdo Hulk Hogan. They got to outdo Amber Rose. They got to outdo Ben Carson. You want to see a house spoon show in Chicago like you have never seen. I cannot wait to see which rapper. I cannot wait to see which rapper, which basketball player, which football player, which comedian, which actor. I cannot wait to see which one of these house Nick celebrities is going to go to bat for the Democratic Party. And
See, one thing that I don't understand, especially about with the way that they do celebrity endorsements now, it's different now because we have access to more information. I feel like people can think for themselves now. Then let's just say, for example, when televisions first came out, like let's look at like the first cigarette smoking campaign. They would get famous doctors, they would get basketball players or baseball players to endorse cigarettes or to endorse, Coca-Cola or milk, got milk. Remember all that? I feel like when the celebrity endorsement back then was fresh, because TV was fresh and marketing was new, it worked. But I feel like now it's not as authentic or as Like I don't think somebody's gonna go and do something just because they got a cosign from a basketball player or um an actor or an actress. Now what I will say is, LeBron James has a lot of power. I actually saw that and felt that power when I went saw him play the Wizards in person, and then we went to a party that he was at. So I've seen that billionaire energy, how it can like feed off on people, but I don't know if it's as effective, right, for uh voting, right, for politicians. And I feel like the way that they do it, especially when they try to target African Americans, it's almost like they think that African Americans are dumb, or that the majority are dumb, and that they can't think for themselves. It's just the way they come off with the endorsements that they get. And you can kind of see through the bullshit, right? In my opinion, anyway, you can kind of see that it's not genuine. Like some of these people aren't up there endorsing because they genuinely want to. It's more so of, I don't know if they're getting cut a check, or how when it comes to politics, I'm not even sure if that's legal, but it just looks weird in my opinion.
It's my thing, Art. I'm not dismissing the black celebrities for speaking at the Democratic National Convention just for that reason. I'm dismissing them, Art, because they're going to go up there, show up and show out for the Democrats without a single promise to their community. Without a
Yeah, see, I mean, he's kind of right. You know what I mean? It just looks weird. It's like they're doing it, trying to sway black people, but like there's no education before or during. Like it's almost like, if anybody's ever been to church, like a black church, when they do the hooping and hollering, like it's almost like that, like it's like a hype session, but it's not really. It doesn't really let you know what they can do for you, if that makes sense.
single pledge to their community, without a single concession to their community, with all we've been through and all we about to go through, how the hell can you fly your ass to Chicago, basketball player, football player, rapper, actor, dancer, singer, comedian? How can you go up there and show up and show out for Kamala Harris, who never did a damn thing for black people? That's my issue. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Every black person listening to me, on November the 5th, you need to be in a black community when the election results are read. My bougie Nick living in the suburbs, living in an all-white community, you do not want to be caught outside on November the 5th if Donald Trump loses. Because here's my thinking, Art. We only got 3 months and a few weeks to the presidential election. Let me say that again. We only got 3 months and a few weeks to the presidential election on November 5th. You mean to tell me Joe Biden backs out with 3 months left, anoints Kamala to his spot? She only got 3 months to campaign, and you still going to beat a very popular Donald Trump? Do you think the American people are going to believe Donald Trump lost fairly after y'all tried him in court, convicted him in court? And I know we'll get later to the artificial assassination, but nonetheless, do you really think Americans are going to believe Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump straight up? I'm not too sure about that. And if poor white America thinks they were robbed of this election, that January 6th takeover, that was nothing but a pool party for what you're about to see in this country if Donald Trump loses this election. I would not want to be a black person in a white neighborhood on November the 5th, 2024, when those presidential election results are read and Donald Trump is not the winner. I believe white folks are going to show up and show out, Art. You better have a gun, a knife. Black people better exercise, what is it, our Second Amendment rights? Right to carry, is that the Second Amendment or the Fourth?
I want to say the second.
I think it's the second. Black folks better exercise their right to carry. You better buy every gun, every bullet you got, because
You know the vibes.
if Donald J. Trump loses this election, going against a Democrat who had 3 months to run, you had 3 months to run and you beat Donald Trump, white America gonna flip off, Art. I'm going to make sure I'm ready, brother. Make sure you're ready. And I want all my American Africans out there, wherever you live in America, especially if you're in a city that's predominantly white, if you're in a state that's predominantly white. You know, we in Philly, which is half black, half white, 50-50. You know what I mean? But black people, please be prepared for what can happen on these streets if Donald J. Trump loses that election. And to that point, Art, this is why I think the shadow government has a lot of deciding and a lot of reasoning and a lot of debating to do. Because here's the thing, Art. If you steal the election from Trump and give it to the Democratic Party, whether it's Kamala or anyone else, because you want to make sure China doesn't take over Africa, and you want to make sure China doesn't take over the Caribbean, and you want to make sure China doesn't take over second and third world, Central and South America. So you want a Democrat in there because Democrats have always had better relationships with black countries. If you do that, you might win the world, but you might lose America. Because if these white folks flip out, Art, look, let's be honest. The American.
Now I feel like Umar is like borderline like the black Alex Jones. They kind of like say the same things, but you know, one is for one culture, the other's for the other culture. But I mean, I guess it makes money for them, so cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't see an all-out civil war going on. Maybe something similar to January 6th, but I don't see people just walking around just shooting black people. Like, you know what I mean? But for everybody out there, you know the vibes. Concealed carry regardless.
Public has more weapons than the American military. Let me say that again. The American public, 350 million people, they have more guns than the U.S. military. Now, the military has better weapons. The military has better weapons. But the people have more weapons. American military is no more than 500,000 people, Art. There's no more than 500,000. How are you going to put 500,000 against 350 million with more weapons? You're not winning that. If the U.S. military has to go to war with her own citizens, I believe the U.S. military will lose. And I believe a lot of people in the U.S. military will side with the American people. And by American people, I mean white American people. So the National Security Agency, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, the Federal Reserve, the Trilaterals, the Illuminati, the House of Rome, the Rothschilds, the Wahlbergs, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Rockefellers, they got to ask themselves, if we rob Donald Trump so we can maintain Africa and the Caribbean, will that lead to social unrest in America? Will America degenerate into chaos? Will we have to evoke martial law? That's a hell of a decision to make. Do I go for the resources or do I maintain American status quo? Because, Art, if America breaks down internally, China is the new superpower. The only thing keeping China from being the world superpower right now is this country. If this country descends into chaos, China runs the world. Does the power structure, does the secret government of this country really want China in charge? That's the question.
Yeah, that's real talk.
I mean, China got their own problems, but I don't know. So what's kept America where it is for this long is because the power of the military, right? That's one of the reasons why the currency has never fallen. You know, if any country tries to advance, you know, our military is so strong that, you know, I just don't see that because China has their own infrastructure problems. That they got a bunch of failing banks. Like they have their own problems. I'm not even 100% sure if that's could possibly be, but you never know. You know, in the near future if something changes. But as of right now, I just don't see China, you know, becoming more powerful than us. Well, that fast anyway. Maybe a couple decades from now, sure. But I'm not really sure. But let me know what you all think in the comments. Is Dr. Umar correct about Kamala Harris and this election? I'm interested in hearing what you all think. Thanks for watching.